God is not a deceiver. He's not the philosopher Descartes' malign demon.
So, you've seen Keith Foskey and theology from a golf cart. Well, this is theology from a beach cruiser. What's up, guys? This is Ivan, and this is Reformanda Radio. You know, there are some things that I have expertise in. If I'm an expert plumber, I'm not going to go out and try to extend that expertise into rocket science. There are some things that don't cross over. There are some things that we should stay in our lane for. The person that I have in mind is Dinesh D'Souza. So I came across a clip where he tries to delve in the topic of predestination and election. What you can clearly see from the video is that he just hasn't done the reading.
I noticed that all Christians, including Lutherans, Calvinists, Calvinist Presbyterians, embrace free will as part of their theodicy. If you ask them why there's so much evil in the world, they will say, because man has free will. But then, a few minutes later, they are back to their customary theological determinism. Now they will say man does not have the free will to say yes to God. When it comes to salvation, they say free will is an illusion. We think we are choosing God, but we are only reflecting God's own prior choice. God deceives us into thinking we are choosing freely. No. I cannot go along with this nonsense. God is not a deceiver. He's not the philosopher Descartes' malign demon who is out to fool us. God gave us free will, and we are free to use it for good or evil, to choose him or to reject him. Those who are in hell deserve to be there. They chose to be without God, and God has granted them their wish.
Check out Justin Peters and his comment on the video. Now, Dinesh D'Souza comes from a Calvary Chapel background, where Reformed theology isn't really looked at in the best light. And so what he does is try to disparage the Reformed idea of man's inability by simply saying that sometimes Reformed people do appeal to man's free will. But what he doesn't recognize is that our Reformed confessions make use of free will all the time. We just have a different definition of it. We say that free will simply means that man is doing what he wants to do. He concurs with the sin that he does. God's not forcing him. God's not forcing his hand and forcing him to sin where otherwise he wouldn't sin. That's not what's happening. And there are many texts like this, notably Romans 8, that says that the mindset of the flesh is not able to follow the law of God. It does not follow the law of God because it's not even able to do so. And so what would someone like Dinesh make of a text like that? Now, of course, he tries to blame Reformed people when they try to blame man in his own sin for the reason for evil in the world. But actually, what most Reformed people do in our confessions actually note that God's sovereignty is the reason for sin in the world, but that God uses sin in his sovereignty and for his purposes through the use of secondary means. This is very clearly what the confessions teach. They say that God, ultimately in his sovereignty, is sovereign over evil because he has decreed all things. But the moral culpability for the sin lies within the heart of the unbeliever. We see this in Genesis 50, where Joseph says that you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And this is in reference to him being sold into slavery. And this is what is known as compatibilism. This is what the Reformed confessions teach, and I would say is a much more consistent approach to the problem of God's sovereignty and man's will. And so what I would suggest is someone like Dinesh D'Souza read the Reformed confession, look at the London Baptist Confession of 1689, and see its presentation of compatibilism, the idea that God's sovereignty is compatible with human freedom. So I would say don't look to Dinesh D'Souza for your theology. Maybe look to him for some politics, some political things he's pretty good at. There's some things I agree with him politically, and he tends to be okay when it comes to politics. But when it comes to theology, I would say he is not your go-to person. That does it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And until next time, to God alone be the glory.